When your 4-year-old asks, "Dad, can we play Dungeons and Dragons?" you say, "Why, yes, we can." And in this video, I'll be showing you how my family does it. What's up, gamers? I'm Josh, and this is Copper Dragon Games. On this channel, we talk about Dungeons and Dragons, DM tips, virtual tabletop resources, product reviews, and more. Today we're talking about gaming with the little ones. Specifically, I'll be showing you a look behind the scenes in the campaign I've been running with my 4-year-old daughter for about a year now. I'll show you some of the tools and accessories we use, and give you a few tips for how to run your game if you decide to run one with little adventurers of your own. Let's get started. First, a little background. I got started playing Dungeons & Dragons with my dad when I was in 1st grade, and I had been asking him for years to play before he actually agreed. So let's just say the idea of playing D&D with really little kids is about 30 years past being a new idea. My own daughter has been around D&D her whole life, from stumbling around game stores while her dad tries to figure out what new books to buy, to playing daddy games with miniatures and an old Dragon Strike board, to learning her colors with the dragons in the monster manual.
What's that?
It wasn't until she turned 4, though, that we played a game with any kind of rule set that resembled D&D. And even that wasn't until she asked to play. Which brings us to tip number 1. If you really want your kids to enjoy D&D with you, don't force it on them. I've heard stories about parents who really want their kids to enjoy the hobby, but get the opposite reaction because they push too hard. My suggestion is to let them witness you having fun, and just be patient. Eventually, they'll ask to play. Just be ready to say yes when they do. Depending on their age and your table, the little ones might not be able to play with the bigger kids yet, but you can always set up something appropriate for their age. We started with Hero Kids, a game that's built for kids from ages 4 to 10. She liked it, but to be honest, I don't think she was really ready for that much structure yet, and I wanted to use the game to teach a little more math. The core mechanic of Hero Kids revolves around rolling some d6s for opposed characters and checking to see whose rolls are higher. At that point, though, she was already counting to 20 or more, and I didn't want to limit myself to d6s, so I started making up some rules on the fly and incorporating bigger dice. My rules have changed over time as she's grown from recognizing numbers to doing simple addition. I'm not going to get into it too much here, but if you want to hear more about how the mechanics I improvised have evolved over time, leave a comment below and I'll make a follow-up video with more explanation. Which brings me to my second tip. Don't waste a lot of time trying to figure out the perfect set of rules to use. Play whatever is fun and accessible. Hero Kids is cheap and available on DriveThruRPG, but there are plenty of other kid-friendly RPG systems out there. I'll list some alternatives in the video description below. As we prepared for the first game, we skipped the mechanical parts of character creation altogether. Instead, I let her dig through my collection of humanoid miniatures and pick one that she liked. She chose this elf miniature and named her Cheerio. Beyond that, I just asked, "What's really cool about Cheerio?" She has ice powers. I wonder why my 4-year-old thought that was cool. So I put together a character sheet for her and just let her take it from there. Which brings us to tip number 3. Don't make character creation a chore. This is generally good advice regardless of what age group you're DMing for and what RPG you're running. If your players are new to the game you're running, or just new to RPGs in general, character creation can be frustrating and boring, so don't let that be their first impression of the game. Our campaign began with the starter adventure from Hero Kids, Basement of Rats. However, I did make a few changes. One, I changed the tavern to what was at the time her favorite restaurant. This was to give her more context than she normally would have had. She doesn't know what a tavern is, so there. Also, I didn't have a lot of rat miniatures on hand, and I knew I wanted there to be a tactile component to the game. So we had a basement full of bugs instead. I had plenty of spider minis from featuring Drow so prominently in my campaigns over the years, so we went with those. Tip number 4, connect your game to things in the real world that your kids know. Yes, it's fantasy, but there needs to be a reference point in the real world for the little ones. And make those reference points meaningful. I chose her favorite restaurant and something she was really curious about at the time, bugs. Now almost a year has passed and she has quite a few D&D sessions under her belt. Cheerio has battled the evil skeleton wizard countless times. teamed up with the PJ Masks to rescue Lionel from a gelatinous cube, rescued various Toy Story characters, solved puzzles she found deep in creepy dungeons, and much more. She even heard the short I made about her asking me to play,
Dad, can we play Dungeons and Dragons?
and has asked when she can play D&D for bigger kids. I've been telling her that she can play the real thing when she's better at reading, but I think she can handle Hero Kids now, or some other kid-friendly RPG. I'm thinking Amazing Tales might be the next on the list. Either way, we're a family of gamers, so we're going to keep playing D&D until she finds something different that interests her more. I hope this video was helpful to you as you consider doing D&D with your kids. If you'd like to see more content like this, let me know by commenting below, liking the video, and of course, subscribing. I'll be back next time with more tips and tricks to help you with your D&D games. See you then.